Yo, what's up, guys? We're back for another week of breakdown and predictions. This week, we got another numbered event with UFC 325, where the featherweight title is going to be on the line, with Alexander Volkanovski being challenged once again by Diego Lopes. And we'll see if the rematch is any different than the first fight, but this time they're down under. They're going to be in Australia, where Alex Volkanovski is going to be the hometown fighter, so he's going to have the advantage there. Last time they were in Miami, where there was a lot more Mexican and just Latin American fans out there that were cheering for Diego. But now, obviously, he's going to be in much more enemy territory, and we'll see if he could take the belt. But we're coming off a really great first week for the UFC. We actually had a sole first place in Tapology for the predictions and won money on our bets. We won money on ONE FC as well. So killed that last card. Predicted every single fight correctly. The main event, I felt like was a really good pick. I didn't see very many people picking Justin whatsoever. So yeah, man, gonna look to run that back this week. Keep the momentum going, and so hit the like button, put a comment down below. Let's try to get a little bit more engagement in this video, guys. I would really appreciate it. Get some more comments and some interaction going on. But outside of that, man, just go to patreon.com/PredictionGuru. Help support the channel. And there's a free subscription going on right now, so you can go out there. You can check it out. And let's get in this first fight of the night. And so the first 4 fights that we got on this card are road to UFC bouts. I think they're the finale, so it's kind of like the tough finale. They're calling it a road to UFC bout. So I don't know if it's really considered an official UFC fight, but I mean, it's a UFC fight. Let's just call it what it is. And it's Namsri Batbayar taking on Aaron Tao in the first bout of the night that we have here. And everyone that's going to be in these first 4 fights won 2 fights last year to get to this finals. And Aaron Tao, he's pretty much at home. He had to go to China for his 2 fights last year, but he trains out of City Kickboxing, was born in New Zealand, so he's not from Australia, but the crowd is going to be on his side more than likely. And he's the veteran. He's 7 years older than his opponent, who is 25. He's 32, 11-1 to Namsri Batbayar's 9-1. And Tao's been close to signing the UFC for over a year. He fought on Contender Series September 17, 2024, came up short, but the UFC saw something in him, and now he's back again a year and a half later in the exact same position, 1 fight away from signing a UFC contract. And the Mongolian Namsri Batbayar is looking to prevent that, though, and Batbayar is someone who wasn't supposed to be in this position. He was a underdog in both of his road to UFC fights, and before he got selected to be a part of the tournament, he really had no resume. He was 6-1, but he had 3 wins over fighters who had never won a fight, and only 1 win against someone who was above 500. So he looked good getting 2 finishes in the tournament, and now he's looking to finish out this underdog story with the UFC contract, but kind of a guy that was not too touted before this tournament started, but now he's in the finale. And you look at Batbayar, he is aggressive, he's well-rounded, good fight IQ, and we've seen him in 2 road UFC fights, and he'll fight different styles. In his first fight of the season, he was extremely aggressive, he was pressuring forward, using big punches, he was fast in and out with his hand speed, good right hand, he mixed up the angle as well, and he likes to, make it a brawl, and then uses brawling to mix in takedowns. He got a couple takedowns, but he couldn't really control position in that fight, but showed a good chin, good conditioning, and was able to kind of just mix it up and get the victory. And he can get reckless and caught coming in. He was rocked in one of his fights, but he has a good poker face, good recoverability, and he's knocked down both opponents he's fought in the tournament. And when he gets on top, he has really good back takes. He can ride you out. In his second fight of the tournament, he actually let his opponent come to him, countered with a nice shot, and put him down. So he showed that he can strike off the back foot or the front foot. It's been a couple years since he's been stopped, but when he's been finished, he's gave his back and got rear naked choked, and he didn't look all that good off bottom. And you look at Aaron Tal, he's a 135er who obviously when he fought Elijah Smith on Contender Series was up at bantamweight. Now he's dropped down to 125 and it's paid dividends. He's an imposing guy for the weight division, and he's only 5'4", so he's small, but he's strong and compact. Not like he's not small, he's just short. But his first flyweight fight, he immediately got a single leg. He trapped the wrist. He threw nasty ground and pound and got a very easy stoppage. But I think in this fight, he's going to be respectful early. He's going to come out with a lot of big feints. I think he's going to try to gauge how fast and powerful Betmma will be. And Tao is good at darting in and out, blitzing with big hooks, overhands. He goes to the body, and he's strong. You'll mix in takedowns. You'll dirty box. He throws heavy leg kicks, body kicks, a lot of pressure, and he's a bully fighter. Once he gets the ball rolling, it's hard to take the momentum away from him. And I think if he can get top position, he's going to have a big edge there. I see him stuffing the takedowns, and one thing Aaron Tal has is conditioning and durability. Took a lot of big shots. He was able to take over in round 3 versus Elijah Smith. His last fight, even he got hit with some hard counter punches and just walked through them. And he's a tense guy, and he loves to fight. His last fight, both him and his opponent were bloodied, battered, but swinging in the center when the final bell rang. So it's going to be interesting to see how Betmma plays this fight, because I don't think he can get the takedown. So he's going to have to rely on his speed, and I'm not sure if he's going to want to get into a firefight with someone like Aaron Tal. If he doesn't, he could end up being put on the back foot and just bullied the whole time. And if he's wild on the feet, Tal could land some hard shots. So I think Tal should be ready for what Betmma brings. He's going to be the stronger wrestler, the better grappler. He's a little bit cleaner on the feet. Betmma is faster, but Tal, I think, will do a good job of being defensively sound early. And if Betmma comes out super aggressive, I think he's going to wear down. And we'll see Aaron Tal potentially get a second or third round finish. So Aaron Tal for me is the prediction in this first bout of the night. And so this next fight that we got on the card here is probably, in my opinion, the most high-level fight of these 4-road UFC matches, because we got a city kickboxing fighter, Lawrence Liu, 29 years old. He's 7-1, 4 wins in a row, and he looks like a pretty good prospect. He's a long, rangy 135er, but he's coming up against a really, really good fighter in Sulan Grangbo, who's only 20 years old. But these Embo Fight Club guys, they get him in there when they're kids and they kind of churn him out. That's how Song Yadong got in the UFC so early, and a few of these other young kids made it in there really early. Who's the American Top Team guy? Someone put it in the comments. I can't remember his name right now. Freaking the flyweight. But yeah, either way, there's a few of those guys that kind of came over really early. But I think Sulan Grangbo is one of the best products that they've produced, and he's currently on a 9-fight winning streak. He was 1-3, but now he's 10-3. So he's turned his career around totally, and he's looking to become the youngest fighter on the UFC roster. So he's one of these fighters as well that's also, on top of working with Embo Fight Club, is now connected with the UFC PI in China. So they're invested in him. And then Lawrence Liu has City Kickboxing. So both these guys have two of the best gyms that they're representing in this tournament. And you look at Sulan Grangbo, he's a tall fighter, elite footwork, long-range striking skills. He has excellent range, cuts angles well. He doesn't let fighters back him to the fence, holds the center really methodically. He'll stay light. He looks to land 1-2s, long uppercuts. He has elite speed, solid accuracy, power, and it's hard to penetrate his range without running into punches. He's not really going to make any mistakes, put himself in danger. He doesn't usually overextend. You rarely see him throw knees or kicks that can get caught. He can throw them. He's just smart when he does, and he rarely throws them. You need to use feints, in my opinion, versus Sulin Grambo. Draw him out and try to counter him. And it's going to be hard to just walk him down or try to beat him going speed for speed. So feigning and feigning the takedowns as well, coming back up with punches, all that is going to be effective in the striking. But all in all, looking out strike Sulin Grambo is going to be tough. And Sulin Grambo hasn't had to deal with a great wrestler in either tournament fight. His last fight, he defended a couple shots, but mainly has had stand-up battles throughout his recent matches. And he's hard to shoot in on. He's rarely overextending. He's always at a good range. His reaction time looks good on the sprawls, but his wrestling hasn't truly been tested in recent fights. And I think trying to take down Sulin Grambo is the smart strategy. He likes to fight at a measured pace, so if you can maybe force him to have to defend a lot of takedowns early, that movement maybe could potentially go away. And in his last loss, he did get finished with punches from full mount in round 3, so maybe that's the way to go. But his right hand is a laser beam. He's only going to keep getting better. He hasn't lost since he was 18 years old. And I think he kind of reminds you of like a Jiang Li type of fighter, but with an even more speed, fluidity, and slickness about him. But his opponent, Lawrence Liu, super long-armed guy. And it's a weird dynamic because he's 2 inches shorter, 5'7", to Sulin Grambo's 5'9", but he's going to have like a significant, almost 6-inch reach advantage. So 72-inch reach for Liu. And I don't think he's going to want to keep this one standing. He's a little stiff on the feet. He has a good high guard, decent counters, but I think he just wants to get Sulin Grambo moving backwards so he can shoot on him. He is really tough. If he's hit and he feels that his opponent's starting to take over, you'll see him try to mix in elbows, sit down, make it a war. And but I think trying to make this fight a war is a huge mistake. He has been knocked out more than once, and or knocked down, excuse me. He has a great gas tank, so usually you can, or he can come back if you don't shut his lights out, but he's in danger on the feet in this one. I think he's going to want to get connected early, get Sulin Grambo against the cage, try to use his link there, manipulate him, get him to the ground, or just kind of hang on him on the cage. And if he can get on top, I think he could do potentially a good job of maybe working into full mount and getting the back, attacking the neck, trying to get the finish. All 4 of his wins have been TKOs though, so he hasn't really gotten a submission, hasn't shown a lot of submission threat in his pro career. But to me, Liu, I think he has to be really aggressive off the bat, kind of throw caution to the wind to get the takedown. He can't stay at range, because if you let Sulin Grambo get the distance, I think it's going to be kind of curtains for him. He has to be smart but pressure, use feints, try to use that high guard to get the clinch, get a takedown entry, and if he can get on top, maybe he can expose him there, but he's going to have to walk through the fire, and Sulin Grambo, I think, is going to be ready to circle, ping Liu's head off with jabs, 1-2s, uppercuts. I think he has the power to put Liu unconscious if he connects right, and he has the patience to piece Liu up for 3 rounds. So I like Sulin Grambo in this fight. Liu has power of his own, but I don't think it's that likely he's going to be able to catch Sulin Grambo. And Sulin Grambo via knockout is my prediction here. And I'm going to say he catches him early and puts him out in the first round. And I know I said that last fight was the highest level fight on the road to UFC bouts, but this is another really solid matchup here with Sebastian Cizali taking on Kiichiro Nakamura. And this is going to be at 145 pounds. Cizali is the first Australian fighter that's going to be competing on this event. And he's 10-1. He's on a 9-fight win streak. Trains out of an up-and-coming gym in Australia, Louis Stroh Combat Academy, who has Cody Haddon, Killian Salkilld, who's also on this card, training there. So they got some young hitters. And Cizali had some pressure to perform because he is 31. So the time is now if he wants to join those guys in the UFC. But 9 wins in a row, he's looking really good. And Kiichiro Nakamura, 27 years old. He's 7-1 out of Japan. He's actually 10-1 if you include 3 fights that he had in 2024. It was kind of like a similar situation to the Ultimate Fighter. It was a reality show. They show them as amateur bouts, but they're really exhibition bouts, I guess. And he won 3-0. He won that show, and he hasn't lost since his pro debut. He's won 7 fights in a row, and then got another win. Then he got those 2 wins, including in the 7 on the road to Contender Series, with one of those wins being an underdog victory. And I've seen him get invited to some of these meet and greets and things like that with other Japanese UFC fighters. So I think the UFC likes this guy, and they're kind of trying to push him if he gets the win. But so far in his career, Nakamura has kind of been a knockout artist. 10 of his 12 wins are knockouts, and he's light on his feet. He's evasive. He'll use a lot of feint stance switches. He'll go to the body and then go up to the head. He's tricky. Nice 1-2s, double jab 2s. His first road to UFC fight, he landed a brutal counter knee when his opponent had his back near the fence, and it was really creative, great timing. He's fast, and for the most part, he stays long. He's technical, and he sometimes can overextend or get caught with his hands, like when he's throwing his double jab. His last opponent was landing some nice counter hooks, even got a first round knockdown, but Nakamura showed he was a dog. Was able to recover and win the rest of the fight, and he's just extremely fast. He's good at keeping you on the back foot, landing the cleaner strikes, and he doesn't slow down. So if he gets caught early when he's a little reckless, he's able to survive and then pour it on. But his wrestling defense does look a little bit suspect. If you have good timing and nice double leg, I do think you're going to be able to take him down. He has good get-ups. He's not easy to hold down, Nakamura, but he also hasn't fought very many good grapplers. He got taken down by a kickboxer in his last fight, and he was able to get up quick, but maybe a better wrestler or grappler will be able to hold him down or submit him. But prior to his last fight, he'd never gone the distance, Nakamura, but he was able to do it at a solid pace, and he even got knocked down and came back. So that was an impressive showing for a first time going the full 15 minutes. But Sebastian Cizali, he's a good mover. He's a counterpuncher. He's economical with his output. He'll pull fighters into 1-2s, 3-2s. His last fight, he landed a clean left hook and put down his opponent in less than a minute. And he maintains the center. He's pretty flat-footed, but he's coiled. He's ready to land pull counters, and he also can close the distance sneaky fast. And when he backs you up, he likes to go to the body, go to the legs, and he could switch stances. He cuts the cage off fairly well. He's a fast guy. He has sharp punches, so solid technical striker. And he did slow down in his first road to UFC fight. He won the first 2 rounds with the footwork, the counter punching, but in round 3 he was taken down, controlled, and he wasn't as sharp. He is a decent grappler, but it seems like in the fights that he struggled more than his other ones, he's been getting wrestled. And I think Cizali is actually the better wrestler here, even though this fight's probably never going to go to the mat. So honestly, I think this fight could go either way. Both these guys are good strikers. They have a chance to clip one another. Both have good cardio. They're tough. It should be an entertaining striking battle, but I'm going to edge it to Cizali because I think he could hurt Nakamura with the left hook. His defense is a bit better, and Nakamura has the conditioning, but if Cizali can use his power to control the pace at least somewhat, and then also the fact that I think it should be a stand-up fight makes me think Cizali will hold up a little better. So I'm going to predict that Cizali wins this fight via close decision. And closing out the road to UFC fights, we got Dom Marfan. He's taking on Sang Uk Kim. And Fong, he is the second Australian fighter represented on this card. He's 25 years old. He's won 4 in a row, 8-2. And both of his losses are to Quillan Salkilld. So he had to come through 2 tough fights. And he even had to cash on the road to UFC tournament in one of his fights as a plus 350 underdog. So that was impressive, and now he's 1 fight away from this UFC contract. And Kim Suk-ang, he is 32 years old. He's South Korean, 13-3. He's trained out of one of the best gyms in Asia, headed up by Stungun Dong Young Kim, one of the best fighters from that region ever that came to the UFC back in the day. And then fighters like Si-Kyun Ko are also trained there. And he finished both of his fights in the road to UFC appearances, and he's a fun fighter to watch. Uk, very good pressure, solid boxing, and Kim's boxing is pretty good. He has a nice jab, good 1-2s, he goes to the body. He's slow, but he has good basics, and in this fight, I think he needs to try to do damage when he's clinched up with knees with body shots, because he can get taken down, and he has to have his scrambles on point in this fight, because he's had fights where he was taken down and has reversed and showed good scrambles in the past, but if he's taken down by Fan, that's a good grappler on top of him that he's going to have to figure out how to maneuver with, but he's a beast on top, Kim, super strong, so if he can get there, I think he can be effective, and good crucifix position, nice elbows. I think if he can get Fan's back, he could have a potential chance to get the finish there. And he has solid conditioning as well. When you look at Donmar Fan, he's a grappler. On the feet, he has fast hands. You'll throw big power hooks. He punches away into the body lock, and he's heavy-handed. He's strong on top. He stays active. He likes to grab the wrist, control the wrist, throw hard elbows. He's good at working his way to the back, going for the neck. And he can get taken down himself, though. And his last fight, he had his back taken in the first round. He was able to turn in, get on top, and he did get submitted with the rear naked choke in the past, but it's been a while. And a lot of his fights are scramble fest, where there's a lot of jockeying the clinch, there's a lot of switching position on the ground. His conditioning is kind of what won him his last fight, because it was a 1-1 fight going into the third, and Fan got taken down early in the round, but he reversed, got on top, and kind of rode out the position to win the decision. And this fight I don't really have a great read on. I think Kon Sang Uk can win with a dynamic finish if he can get the body shots going on the feet, or if he can get the back or a dominant position on top. I think he could potentially get taken down, and if Fan could control him, I think he can get it done. But I'm going to slightly edge towards Kim, because I just think he's a little bit more dangerous. So I'll say he wins via second round submission. And so I guess the first official fight on UFC 325, or whatever you want to call it, but Kaan Ofli versus Yi Jia is going to get us kicked off. And Kaan Ofli, he is from Turkey, I believe, but he trains in Australia, and he's looking to show up for his fans there. He won his first UFC fight last October, and he did it in style. He got that standing rear naked choke in the first round. Prior to that, he was 0-2 to start his UFC run, so he still has some pressure here to get the win, but beating Ricardo Ramos like that was fairly impressive. And Ofli's a strong fighter. He is primarily a grappler. He uses stand-up to get into the clinch, and eventually he'll get you down and finish you on the ground. And his striking is serviceable. He'll use a lot of heavy feint, stance switches, calf kicks, 1-2s, 3-2s. He shoots to the body with his punches, mixes in low kicks, and he has problems with good counter-strikers off the back foot. We saw him get knocked out by Myron Santos. Muhammad Naimov landed some really nice pull counters. And Ofli is in shape, though. Puts you on the back foot, keeps you guessing. He's strong in the clinch. He'll put you on the fence, get double underhooks, get you to the ground, work short strikes, and good front chokes. Obviously, he showed he can get to the back and get that rear naked choke as well. And he, has a lot of hunger to get this win. He's going to be well-conditioned, and we're going to see a guy that is going to look to push the pace here. But Yi Jia's a fighter who's had a difficult time kind of staying active lately. I mean, he was in that road UFC format as well as those other guys that we were recently talking about, and he ended up losing in the finale. And then his first UFC fight was a super hard fight versus Gabriel Santos, and now he's looking to come back after that easy fight he had last time, where he did handle business. He went in there and got the really nice knockout over Weston Wilson, but that was not very much action. He fought like 37 seconds, And before that, he hadn't fought since August of 2024. So he just hasn't been super active, like I said. And I think Kaan Ofli is a big step up from Wesson Wilson, even though he has fought some other great opponents, obviously, like Gabriel Santos. But Yija is a sharp technical striker, good in and out movement. He keeps his hands high. He'll throw clean strikes, 1-2s, feints the jab, sets up his fast straight right, good leg kicks. And fighters know how he could wrestle, so he also takes advantage of that, feints the level changes, uses that to open up shots. He could switch stances, but he doesn't have very good head movement, so you can snipe him. You can also land leg kicks. He is tough, so he's willing to eat damage and try to just come back or not show it, but he wants to get you to stand in the pocket and exchange with him so he can land his hands and then try to get the takedown. And he has a very good chin, so he's willing to sit in the pocket and kind of wheel and deal there. But he didn't deal with the kicking game of Gabriel Santos very well at all, and he's definitely a guy that wants to be in boxing range. You saw him get dropped with the front kick to the face. He got hurt with body kicks. His toughness brought him to the final bell in that fight against a good kicker. But Gabriel's only been finished via strikes, Yijak, only been finished via strikes once. And normally he's not a knockout threat, though. His last knockout before his win over Wesson Wilson was in 2019. So Yijak's aggressive with his wrestling. He'll shoot hard singles, doubles, good clinch takedowns. And at times he can do more controlling than damage, but he's sticky. He's hard to get away from. And damage is king, though. He's lost some fights, like his UFC debut. He had over 8 minutes of control time, but lost the fight because his opponent did a little bit more damage and he was just holding. So if you take him down and you're still dangerous, you could almost steal the fight if he doesn't use enough offense. But Yija is a good grappler on his back too. He can even get arm bars, so he's dangerous everywhere. And 14 submission wins, but I think Ofli gets the job done here. It should be competitive, but Ofli's a pressure fighter. I think he's going to have success backing up Yija, landing, getting the clinch. I feel like he's a little stronger, more physical. I think he can get to the back or just get takedowns and control on top like you saw Gabriel Santos do. And I feel he has more power in the stand-up, and I could see this fight becoming a brawl if neither guy could control the other, but I'm going to say Kaan Ofli wins via decision. And in this next fight, we got two prospects with Jonathan Micallef and Oban Elliott, close to a pick'em. And Jonathan Micallef is the Australian fighter. He's looking to make it 2 wins in a row in his first 2 walks to the UFC octagon. He fought Kevin Jousset at UFC 312, and that was February 8th of last year. It was at the same arena he's going to be fighting at this Saturday, pretty close to the same time of year as well. He won via decision, booked a fight against Oban Elliott, and the first time these two were slated to compete, Elliott got sick. He had to pull out, I believe, at weigh-ins or close to the fight date for sure, but I don't know why neither guy got a fight booked until 5 months later, but I'm sure they're happy to finally settle unfinished business. And Oban Elliott, he had a halt start to his UFC career. He won his first 3 fights, but Seokyeon Ko halted his momentum last June, and Elliott was a sizable favorite going into that fight, but he kind of got thoroughly dominated, out-grappled. So I think the UFC's kind of in sink or swim mode with Elliott because they're giving him another tough opponent in Jonathan Micallef, and I think the winner of this fight is going to get pushed again, but they're seeing who's the true prospect here. And Jonathan Micallef, southpaw with a long reach. He likes to circle around on the outside, throw heavy leg kicks. His left body kick is nasty. He establishes that and then goes high with it. His jab, his check hook, his straight left are all pretty nice. He is hittable, though, because he doesn't really have head movement. He kind of relies on his long reach. His last fight, he won the fight really off the body kick, though, and that left body kick is money. But he's a strong physical grappler. He can time body locks. He can ride you out. He has good submission ability. Takedown defense is solid. Good scrambles. We saw him beat some good grapplers on his regional scene, and he's been 5 rounds, so his conditioning is on point. And Oban Elliott, well-rounded fighter, good gas tank. He plods in a range and cuts the cage off behind the jab, 1-2s, 3-2s. Wants to get you into the to the fence, clinch you. Does a good job kind of flowing with his hands, not really throwing hard and just letting the volume off so he can back you up. And he'll land some nice check hooks, rear crosses, pull counters. And that's how we saw him KO Basil Hafez. But the main thing from Elliott on the feet to me is he comes in shape so he could put the pressure on you. If you slow down and start to get sloppy or stand in front of him, he's going to put the hands on you and get you out of there. But in this fight, he has to be aggressive, walk through the kicking range of Micallef, figure out how to cut off the cage and not let Micallef just use his length and circle around and score points. But Oban Elliott, his takedown defense on the lower body is really good. He's difficult to get in on, and he has fast reactions. Excuse me, but he shut down Preston Parsons Wrestling, who had good shots his last fight, but his takedown defense against Sang Uk was exposed pretty badly. He got taken down in the clinch over and over with the same takedown, and hopefully he's worked on that because Jonathan Micallef tends to get his takedowns through the clinch, so Elliott sometimes can be a little sloppy too with his grappling, so he just has to shore that up. But on the feet, I think Elliott has to be ready to counter, and if he could use his hands to counter effectively, he could maybe find his way to the top position. And I think he has to figure out how to control Micallef and out-grapple him, get in his face, force him to fight in the pocket, extend the hand combinations. If he just pressures and waits to counter, it's going to be hard because Micallef is just going to kick him from the range. And I think if the fight doesn't play on the ground mainly, it's going to be a tough one for Elliott to win. So both these fighters are good and dedicated. I think Micallef's the A side and fighting at home, a little bit more dynamic. His kicking game is going to be effective more than likely. I think the grappling is going to potentially counteract and kind of even itself out. But I tend to lean Micallef there if anyone has an advantage. So for me, I kind of think it's a pass because Micallef hasn't fought in a while. If Elliott jumps on him early, maybe could get the upset. I'm still not super sold on Micallef's boxing, but I'm going to say Micallef uses his kicks, maybe mixes in a couple takedowns, and gets a decision. And keeping it rolling here, so this next one we got Torrez Finney taking on Jacob Malkoun. And yeah, man, I'm not a big fan of this fight, honestly. I mean, Malkoun, he hasn't fought in a long time. This is his first appearance since March 30th of 2024. He had a bulging disc in his back. It was giving him issues with his legs, and he had a long rehab to get back into even being able to train again. And he's still only 30 years old, so he feels like that hardship is setting him up to get on a title run, and it's no better place to start than in front of his home crowd. But, I mean, he got in the UFC in 2020, got KO'd really quickly in his first fight, and at that point it was kind of like unknown if he was UFC level because he got in due to being Rob Whittaker's training partner, and then Phil Hawes KO'd him in like 10 seconds. But he's proven he's a solid fighter since then. He could be on a 6-fight win streak right now. He's coming off a win over Andre Petrosky, but he had a really close decision loss to Brendan Allen that a lot of people thought he won. And then his fight with Cody Brundage, he got DQ'd when he was in a dominant position. So he is a solid fighter, but he needs to kind of reinvent himself. And Torrez Finney, he's came onto the scene since Malkoun's last appearance. 27 years old. He's out of Georgia. He won 3 times on Contender Series, won his UFC debut. And he's been out for a while. He had to pull out of his last fight, but recently he's been putting in work at DC's Wrestling Academy. So hopefully they're trying to figure out how to implement more damage on top from Finney in his fight game. But Finney's 11-0. He looks like he has a more impressive record than Malkoun, but to be honest, Malkoun's the best fighter Finney's ever fought and a step up in competition, whereas Malkoun has fought guys like Brendan Allen, and he was in the UFC more than 2 years before Finney even went pro, so Malkoun has a big experience advantage. But stylistically, both Jacob Malkoun and Torrez Finney are known for kind of stinking up the octagon at times. They're laying prayers, no problem just getting the takedown, getting the decision, and the UFC is putting them together, so hopefully the wrestling cancels out and they have to strike, and regardless, one of these boring guys is going to have to take a loss. But Malkoun pressures forward, solid jab, pull twos, conditioning is on point. He's a really hard worker, and good job feigning both level changes his jab just up the right hand and then getting the wrestling in, and he's relentless. He's gotten 6 or more takedowns in 3 of his 4 UFC wins. He got 7 takedowns in over 7 minutes of control against Brendan Allen, which is impressive. And he may not have the submission prowess of, like an elite jiu-jitsu black belt, even though he is a black belt. He's technical on the mat and he can control you. And he's someone who isn't very dangerous, but solid basics, good wrestling, and very good conditioning. And he's very tough. If you rock or drop him, you have to put him out to really get him out of there. He's had fights where he's gotten knocked down and came back and won. But his one loss in the UFC got KO'd in 18 seconds by Phil Hawes. So he isn't infallible there. But Torrez Finney, powerhouse. He has to be one of, if not the strongest fighter in the division. I mean, he's just a short, compact ball of muscle. And he's normally a way shorter guy than his opponents. But this fight, it's closer with Finney 5'8", Malkoun 5'9". And Finney's really just been a wrestler. He's able to get in on his opponent's legs, get big double leg slams, stay connected, mat return them. And if you can't stop his double leg, he's just going to continue to hit it. He might hit some big slams a couple times and at least keep the ref off him with that, even though he's not doing any damage with the striking. But in this one, I'm not sure if he could really control Malkoun. He might be able to take him down, but I think that Malkoun will be able to get back up. And in the stand-up, it's going to be advantage Malkoun technically, but Finney's going to have the explosiveness and the power edge, and he could obviously KO Malkoun. But I think Malkoun has a gas tank advantage as well, so I don't think this is a great fight. Malkoun to me is better than Finney, so I'm going to pick him, but Finney has more upside. If he could show improvements from his last fight, from going over to DC's Wrestling Academy, he could win, and Malkoun could come out flat after the long layoff. We don't know how he's going to look after this bulging disc issue either, but I think he should have the advantage with the jab and hands, and I feel like he's the better grappler. If he's taken down, he can get back up. If he puts Finney on his back, I think that's going to be more foreign territory for Finney, so I'm going to say Malkoun via decision. And for this next fight, we got Cam Rowston taking on Cody Brundage. Cam Rowston, one of the new city kickboxing prospects on the scene. Great 2025. He went 3-0. He got a UFC contract. First round knockout win on Contender Series. Ended it with a first round knockout win in his UFC debut. And he called a shot on the Contender Series and got it. He wanted to fight in Australia. He delivered a first round KO on the fight date that he called out. Now he's looking to get another big win and move on to bigger names after this. And Cody Brundage is who's going to be across from him. Brundage, he's someone that they always give to a young prospect that they want to see is next level. And if you can beat Brundage, you usually can get into the top 15. But he's had one of the strangest careers in UFC history. He's a 13-fight veteran, 5 wins in the company, but every time that he's won, he's kind of either jumped on his opponent or finished him in the first round with his DQs mixed in there as well. And he also had that fight with Abdul Razak Al Hassan that became a no contest where he got hit to the back of the head very early on. And then his fight with Mansour Abdul Malik originally scored a loss for Brundage due to a foul that stopped the fight early and then overturned to a draw. So I mean, just so many strange things. Then his last fight, he lost a split in a fight that could have went either way. So you never know what you're going to get from Brundage, but he's a fighter the UFC puts in opponents to try to make them look good, but also they know that Brundage does bring some threat. So Brundage is 31. He has a lot of experience for his age, but it's hard to imagine he's going to put a run in the UFC together. And, if he does, this is going to be a big win towards getting there. But the easiest path to victory, I feel, is pretty clear for both fighters. For Cam Rowston, he needs to keep it standing, stay technical, find the kill shot. For Cody Brundage, he definitely should be trying to wrestle. He's an excellent athlete, good skills, solid technically. I think he should be better than he is, but he's much more of an athlete than a fighter. He doesn't want to be in a hard fight. He doesn't want to have to battle adversity normally. If you give him a way to back out of a fight, he usually takes it. Due to that, he either wins early or the more chance you give him and more reason to quit as the fight goes on, it's usually going to end up happening. And on the feet, he fights in a variety of ways. He can have his hands low, try to flow and pop you with the counter right hand, follow up with the combinations. He also will wait a lot and try to hold the center, use feints, pull you into his counters. And when he feels more dangerous, I think is when he's more free-flowing and not as just looking for that one clean shot. But he needs to find the happy median in between that, because right now it's like he's either going to war or he's not really throwing anything. And then I think in this fight he has to get his wrestling going to win the fight, make it ugly on the feet, use that to get the double, put Rowston on his back. But even though Brundage has pretty good level changes, he's never really successfully won a fight using a wrestling game plan. All the fights he's gotten more than one takedown in the UFC he's lost. And he has a tendency to just kind of get his hands connected on a single or double on the fence, kind of just hang out there as well. Waste a lot of energy, get elbowed, get kneed, and then do nothing with it. But he has gotten a slam knockout win. He's gotten a guillotine win. He does have a tendency to jump on a lot of ill-advised guillotines, though. And then he's lost to Bo Nickel where he got submitted. Vieira submitted him. Jacob Malkoun was on his way to finishing him on the ground before he got DQ'd. So he can get finished on the mat as well. But Cam Rowston, extremely tall, lengthy guy. He, to me, is a little bit stiff. I don't think he has great defense, but he uses a lot of jabs, kicks. His last fight, he fought someone who's very similar to Brundage, not as explosive in Andre Petroski, but Rowston kept Petroski on the outside with jabs, leg kicks, footwork, 1-2s, lead hooks, brings kicks up to the body, up to the head, short check hook that dropped Petroski and finished him. I mean, Petroski has zero chin. That hook did not seem very powerful, but regardless, those 1-2s, check hook, knees, front kicks are the offense he wants to bring here. And he has to avoid the double leg, getting in a lot of brawling exchanges. I don't think he wants to be in the pocket with Brundage. And he's good on top. Rowston, nice single leg. Honestly, if he sees the takedown, he should take it. And I think if he does get into a dominant position and Brundage is kind of tired, maybe we could see an elbows finish or something. But I'm going to pick Rowston, but I'm not really sold on the guy. I think he's a little stiff. I think he's used wrestling to beat some low-level tin cans, and his Finney fight was not a good look. So in this matchup, I think Rowston should be ready to intercept Brundage, defend the shots. He's going to be this fighter with the smarter game plan, and even if he gets top position, I think he can ride that out too if Brundage starts to shoot bad takedowns. But if Rowston gets knocked out here or gets grinded out, I wouldn't be shocked. So I'm picking Rowston, but to me, I'm not super confident on him, but I'll say second round knockout for Cam Rowston. And up next here, we got a 205-pound matchup, and Junior Tafa and Billy Elekana are going to be fighting here. Junior Tafa hanging on to his job by the skin of his teeth in desperation mode. He lost his last fight in embarrassing fashion. He fought Chuko Toko, so I think he has no business being in the UFC, and he couldn't even beat him. So what does that say about Junior Tafa? And Tafa gassed out, got stopped in round 2, 2-3 in his 5 UFC fights, and his wins are over Parker Porter, who's in BKFC now, and Sean Sharaf, who took the fight on like 24 hours notice and is 0-2 in the UFC, but he's a banger with a name in Australia, so he's getting another fight here. And his opponent is the 2-1 Billy Elekana. Elekana, rough showing in his debut, but he bounced back with a, albeit boring, but upset win over Ibo Aslan, and then he smoked Kevin Christian. He took him out in round 1. So the UFC is building him up. I guess because he's Hawaiian, he's been fighting in Vegas since his amateur debut, and he's at a really good gym right now. He's training out of Pajada Training Center, which has Marcelo Nunez heading it, who's a PFL fighter, a really good jiu-jitsu guy. And there's a lot of heavyweights at that gym, or bigger weight fighters, like Carl Semu Tafa's there, Hani Marks, Bruno Capoloza, Alexander Volkov, and some other guys as well. But Junior's had a good camp himself. He went to Bang Tao in Thailand. So, yeah, we'll see who ends up get the win in this one. But to me, not a long breakdown here at all. As long as Billy doesn't sip on a banana peel and kind of fuck this up, he's going to take the victory. He's going to be the more athletic, longer fighter. I think he could stay safe at kicking range. And once he can time that takedown, use the single, get on top, he should be able to dominate. Tafa's explosive. He has a puncher's chance, but I honestly think at heavyweight, his hand speed was more pronounced. And Elekana is likely going to get the takedown and submit him. I've never seen Elekana knocked out, so that helps me be a little bit more confident in him as well. So I'm going to go Elekana via submission. And up next here, we got the first fight on the main card. Jamie Mullarkey against Quillan Salkilld. Aussie versus Aussie matchup. And Salkilld, biggest favorite on the fight card by far. And currently, this guy's surging. He went 3-0 in 2025. He won 2 knockout of the night bonuses. The head kick KO of Nasrat was insane. And he was named the 2025 Full Violence Breakout Fighter of the Year. And probably the biggest fighter that I've ever had interviewed on the channel. So now in 2026, it's about fighting big names. He was originally supposed to fight Rong Zhu on this card, who's another, solid name in the UFC, but he had to pull out, so Mullarkey came in on short notice. And Mullarkey saved his job his last fight. He was on a 2-fight losing skid. He had his back against the wall, but got the decision win over Rolando Bedoya. And now he's getting a huge shot to take out a hype prospect. And he's experienced, 12-time UFC vet, plus he's just 31. And he's been working hard, even though it's a short notice fight for him. He was putting in a lot of work, getting ready for a grappling match that happened in December versus Josh Kulabau, which he won. And he was in freestyle MMA gym, staying sharp with guys like Volk. So I expect Mullarkey to be in shape. So he's won his last 3 fights in the UFC that were in Australia as well. So that's another thing about him. But Quillan Salkilld just has all the makings of an elite fighter. Extremely sharp, nasty counter cross, good check hook, nasty kicks. He's long. He's able to catch guys as they come in, keep them at bay. He's shown power from his 2 knockouts, good offensive wrestling, riding ability. His takedowns are pretty solid. His length help him get takedowns. Takedown defense is also on point. He needs to get better at getting the back when he gets to that position and actually controlling there, because we saw Yanosh Moosh get him a little bit tired, just constantly getting back up to his feet. But, Salkilld in that fight, even though he was gassed, he showed he was a dog and he has a chin. But more and more decisions are just going to get him more experience. And this fight, I don't really think it's going to go that far. Mullarkey, similar style to Salkilld, but he's slower, less durable, not as powerful. Sits on the outsides, feint fakes, likes to pop with long shots and kicks, time takedowns, but he's not going to be effective on the outside in this fight to me. He doesn't have the speed or the chin. He has to make it a kill or be killed style, cross the distance, throw a lot of combinations, try to get to the ground. try to make Salkilld burn energy. But this fight really should be a layup for Quillan. To me, the only way he could lose this fight is just if he gasses out by just totally blowing his wad early after failing to finish Mullarkey. But that scenario to me is super unlikely, and I think Salkilld is too sharp. He's going to find the chin, and I'm going to say it's either a head kick, left hook, or big right hand. Any of those things could do the trick and knock out Jamie Mullarkey. So, first round KO for Quillan Salkilld. And holy shit, I mean, I can't believe I'm talking about a Tuivasa fight in 2026, but hey man, Fatty made his way back. I didn't think he was going to be able to do it, but I'm still not convinced this guy's going to make weight, but we'll see. And he looks in good shape. Maybe I'm hating. We'll see what happens. But he hasn't fought since August 17, 2024. He's lost 5 fights in a row, so pretty crazy. They're giving him another one here, but yeah, since he's had that layoff, he's been doing a lot of different businesses, partying a lot, eating a lot. He gained a ton of weight. Obviously, you know, getting ridiculed for being out of shape and having the 5 losses in a row is a humbling experience for anyone. And it made him put the work in and want to come back. And he's been training in Dubai with a lot of different top-notch coaches and fighters like TK Fit. He's been training as well at Cyril Gane's gym in Dubai, Triple MMA. And he's only 32, so he should have tread on his tires if he's just has anything left physically. You know, the youth is there. But, yeah, this is a test to see if he's UFC level or not. Because Tallison Teixeira, he had a humbling loss last July. He had 8 first-round finishes in a row to start his career. Got launched all the way to a main event after just one UFC fight. Fought Derek Lewis. Got knocked out in 35 seconds. The stoppage was premature, but got rocked super fast and was not ready for the moment. And he stayed working since that loss. He's been in the gym. And with Teixeira, he has a couple bigger guys to work with, like Bruno Lopes. But to me, I don't think he has the best training situation. It doesn't seem like there's that many big guys that he's working with. But Teixeira is a dangerous fighter with a lot of good things. He definitely is green. You see that in his style because he's all gas, no brakes. He's a fast, really tall guy. He throws combinations. He goes to the legs, to the body, to the head. So that alone makes him a viable fighter. He walks guys down. He can cut the cage off better than most. Backs you up with the jab, with the low kick. He'll put nice body head combinations together against the cage. The right straight, the high kicks are dangerous. But he holds his hands low, stays in the pocket. He likes to counter with single shots. If it works, he lands that kill shot. It's a great strategy, but it puts himself in the firing line, and that's how Derek Lewis got him. Even in his Contender Series fight, he got hit with some ugly overhand bombs against a really small guy. But, you know, Teixeira, he's also never fought a leg kicker, so I'm just not sure how he's going to handle it. He did fight Tafa, but he finished him so fast that we didn't really get to see anything. But Teixeira is a black belt, so I don't know if he can get the takedown, but if he can hurt Tuivasa and get on top, maybe he could finish there and show what he can do on the ground. But, I mean, he doesn't have any wrestling from what we've seen. His conditioning is a complete question mark, and he's never gone past 5 minutes, so it's hard to know that he's going to have good conditioning. He doesn't really pace himself like he's going to go hard for long. And Tuivasa, I mean, I think this guy's going to look to get into Teixeira's chest, hammer low kicks, wing big bombs. He's going to have to figure out how to get close, try to land overhands. And if Tuivasa can get on the inside and let his hands go, he definitely has a chance to land. And if he can explode, close the distance, maybe he could find a bomb. But, you know, I think Ty will have the mental spirit, honestly. Be willing to take damage, because why else would he have came back if he didn't? I don't really have much of a read on this fight. I don't see how anyone can be confident in who wins this, but I think experience at heavyweight is a big deal. It's probably going to be a brawl. I'll say Tuivasa gets the job done, man, but I think it's just a total up for grab fights in round one. I'm going to put some emphasis on the training in Dubai, and I think the better training that Tai got than Tallison did with bigger guys, and say that he's able to edge it with that and the experience. But this guy could be coming in for a cash grab. He could look like a complete shell of himself. Tallison is still talented. I just don't think he's ready for this level yet. So we'll see, but awful fight. And what a fight this is right here. I'm super excited for this one. Rafael Fiziev is back in action, and hopefully he can finally have an active year in 2026. Fiziev made his return to the sport last year after his knee injury from the Gamrot fight. He went 1-1, had the short notice fight versus Justin Gaethje. That was a war. Then bounced back, took out a prospect, Ignacio Bahamondes, and unfortunate end of the year because he was booked against Charles Oliveira, which was the biggest fight of his life, but he had to pull out due to the same knee that he hurt in the Gamrot fight. So that's a little sketchy to hear, and hopefully he can fully recover and kind of regain his prime form because he's only 32, so hopefully he can have years ahead of him giving us really fun striking fights. But Mauricio Ruffy, he has changed it up for this one. His opponent had that awful performance last September against BSD, came in with insane height, but he quickly lost it all after BSD just dominated and submitted him. But prior to that, Ruffy was highlight reeling nearly all his opponents. He knocked out 11 out of 12, and he left the Fighting Nerds for this fight camp, and he's done it with Freestyle MMA. He's getting a lot of training with Alex Volkanovski, and it's going to be a striker's delight here. Both these guys can argue that they're one of the best strikers in the UFC. Rafael Fiziev has been training at Tiger Muay Thai for years. He brings that style to the octagon. He's a heavy kicker. He can kick fluidly with both legs from either stance. Good job changing the speed of his kicks. Throws touching kicks, then more power. Good round kicks, front kicks, lead leg kicks, switch kicks. He'll go southpaw, throw big left kicks, overhands from there too. And he's good at using his kicks and feints to draw guys out, then counterpunch. And in the pocket, he'll slip and rip with power, explode with big lead hooks, rear uppercuts. And he will overextend with his hands and kind of is wild with the boxing. At kicking range, early on, maybe if he could land a crazy spin kick or something. We saw Fiziev get caught out cold once with that, but being a Thai boxer, I mean, he's seen every kick, every knee, every elbow. You need to put your hands on this guy to be successful, more than likely. And at distance, kick defense is nearly impeccable. And to get inside on him, you have to get past all the pull counters, slip and rips, his boxing offense and defense. Even though it's sloppy, it's still dangerous. And this fight may be tough at kicking range because of the length, but I think that, Fiziev is a little bit smarter fighter now. He's going to be more patient how he gets inside. I think the leg kicks are going to be there. And he could maybe mix in some takedowns. We've seen him doing that more recently. I think getting a takedown early in the fight would be very smart. And I don't think he's going to really hold down Ruffy, but just make him think about it, give him something else to worry about. And conditioning for Fiziev can be suspect, but I think if this becomes a dogfight, he's a little bit mentally tougher than Ruffy, and Ruffy's also kind of a guy that slows down. But Mauricio Ruffy's a devastating counter striker. He's good with his eyes, holds the center of the cage, he lands kicks, pull counters. His ability to evade and land off the back foot is tremendous. And when fighters get frozen because they can't hit him, that's when he catches you with this big spinning attack, big punch, big knee, and knocks you out. And he's heavy on his lead leg. And if you could pressure through his kicks, slip his single counter punch attacks, get in his chest, you can be effective. You can also leg kick him. I think Fiziev's going to have that as a big part of his game plan. But Ruffy has to use his hands in this fight more. He needs to look for the big counter punches. I don't know if he's going to have success landing going backwards or when there's not a lot of action in this fight. Both Fiziev and Ruffy tend to tire out, but I think in this fight, Ruffy needs to figure out how to go first, land the big right overhands, right crosses, right uppercuts. He needs to counter the calf kicks. And I kind of think Fiziev wins this, though. He has the better pressure and hands on the inside to me. I think the elbows, the knees are advantage him, too. His kicking defense is insanely good, and even though he got caught with that wheel kick, I mean, we've seen him matrix a ton of kicks as well, and I feel like if he's smart, he's going to try to explode with body and head punches after backing Ruffy up and then go to the legs, and I just feel like with Ruffy, you can't wait for the big shots and expect to hurt KO Fiziev eventually and win. He got hit with over 100 significant strikes by James Yontop and had a competitive fight with him, excluding the knockdowns. He got out-volumed by him. And Fiziev, if he just fights sharp, avoids the big punch counters, I think he can win this with his kicks, his timing, his pressure, maybe a couple takedowns. I think he has the more dog in him to hunt down Ruffy and go for it if it's a close fight too, which could get him KO'd, but I think it also could give him the win. So it's a close fight for a reason, but give me Rafael Fiziev as the slight dog. And in the co-main event of the evening, we got Benoit Saint-Denis taking on Dan Hooker. And Dan Hooker's stock, I would argue, is in an all-time low after his last fight. Talked a ton of shit for years about Arman Tsarukyan, but when it was time to get in the cage, he was demolished. He had a couple moments, like the guillotine attempt. In the first round, he did defend a couple takedowns too, but by and large, he got dominated. Then he got tapped in the second round. And prior to that, he did have a 3-fight win streak, including some wins over some great grapplers. So obviously, Hooker's grappling is not great, but I think people are overly disrespecting him. I mean, he's been in the UFC for over 10 years, 25th UFC fight on Saturday night, and he's only been submitted by Arman Tsarukyan and Islam Makhachev. I mean, two of the best grapplers to ever do it. And I get BSD's a bad dude in his own right, but I'm not ready to say he's that caliber. And Hooker's coming back only a little over 2 months after the Tsarukyan loss, though, where he took a lot of damage, and he even said he broke his nose from the headbutt at the weigh-in. So that's something that, he's probably not going to be 100% going into this fight, and you don't like to see that. But Benoit Saint-Denis, nearing contender status after his brutal 2024. He came into last year with his back against the wall, 2 straight TKO losses, but 3 finishes, 2 fight of the night bonuses. Ended the year by knocking out Benoit Dariush in 16 seconds. Had the big upset win over Mauricio Ruffy. Can't really say anything bad about him last year. He aligned with a new team, and at 30 years old, I think he feels like it's his time to go on a run. But this is actually an intriguing fight to me, though. I mean, Dan Hooker, all gas, no brakes. We all kind of know how he fights. He's dangerous with the knees, his body shots, his long hooks, his kicks. His takedown defense is underrated. Even his last fight, he D'd up the first takedown attempt from Tsarukyan well. He was kneeing him up in the clinch, and he made that mistake of jumping to the back and then going guillotine, which put him on bottom in round 1. And then Hooker was also having problems with the speed in the hands on the feet of Tsarukyan, and that was really the key to Tsarukyan getting the takedowns. And to me, historically, if you're able to use speed in combinations, that's how you touch Hooker's chin and knock him out. If you don't have the power to knock out Hooker, pack a lunch, because he's most likely going to drown you. Even Gamrot couldn't get consistent takedowns on Hooker. And if you can get Hooker down in the center of the octagon, and you're someone like BSD, you have a decent chance to finish him, I think. But against the fence, I think Hooker can get back up. And I think that Saint-Denis is going to have a harder time getting to the takedown than people think, more than likely. He might have to make it more of a brawl on the feet to get there. But Benoit's a Terminator as well. He makes fights barroom brawls. That's why this is just going to be a crazy fight. He'll look to get the clinch. He works his wrestling. His last fight, he got the quick knockout, and he's also gotten a head kick KO, so he could put your lights out early. But when he gets on top, he's really good at controlling you, tiring you out, and then eventually finishing you. All 16 of his wins are finishes. In his fight with Dustin Poirier, he did defend a ton of guillotines, but he got reversed. So Hooker, if he shoots those guillotines, maybe he could get something going with those. But the advantage that BSD has here to me is the major durability. I mean, I feel like he could stay in the pocket, exchange with Hooker, and if they both land, he's going to get the better of it. Hooker's a little chinny to me, and I think that ultimately BST is a safe pick. I think he can actually hurt Hooker on the feet, and he can get his wrestling going, get it to the ground. But if he comes in this fight underestimating Hooker and tries shooting a lot early without establishing the takedown, is stuffed and runs into a crazy shot or gasses, I wouldn't be shocked, because hopefully BST is leveled up, and I have to pick him here because he's younger, more momentum, better durability, more well-rounded. But it's a fight I think is, from a money line perspective, it's kind of a pass. Maybe look at Saint-Denis KO prop as a nice little, money line prop, but I feel like minus 330 is pretty wide, man. I think that Dan Hooker is getting a little underrated here. And finally, in the main event of the evening, we have arguably the GOAT of 145 pounds looking to further cement his legacy in a rematch against an extremely dangerous beast, Diego Lopes. And these two met not that long ago, April 12, 2025. Alexander Volkanovski was victorious on that night, and he sat on his victory. He's been on the sideline for 9 months. And he's a fighter who in his prime was incredibly active, but 37 now, he's probably being smart, taking the time off. Diego Lopes went and took another fight with Gene Silva. That was an instant classic. He ended up being on the right side of a knockout win. And the title shot given to Silva was maligned by a lot of fighters, but Diego is probably the most exciting guy in the weight class. And with no clear-cut contender, they could kind of afford to give him this somewhat undeserved rematch. Volkanovski, since the fight, he hasn't had another one, but he did help Jack Della Maddalena with his camp for Islam, and it looks like he's been staying active in the gym, and he does have his hats and other things too now, though, like he's doing a lot of meet and greets with branding companies and going to be in a movie coming up, but hopefully he's completely locked in here for Diego. He already knows how dangerous he is off the first fight, and while you see Volk going all over the world doing different stuff, Diego is in the gym grinding. And so if he's ever going to win and close the gap, it's now. Diego has kind of tweaked his camp for this fight too. Instead of working at Brazilian Warrior Center as just another guy in the gym, he made this camp fully around himself. He's been training with Austin Bashi, Alexa Grasso's dad, some wrestlers from Oklahoma State, at Iridium Gym, Alessandro Costa, some other guys as well. But he's made this whole camp about himself. He's not coaching or doing anything on the side. And the first fight, it was domination from Volkanovski. In round one, Diego Lopes was just too stuck in the mud. He didn't have the footwork to cut the cage off. Volk was skirting on the outside using the jab, landing heavy punch combinations that wobbled Diego. Nice 3-2s, overhands, and hit a takedown in the first. That was the only thing that really didn't continue on, because the rest of the fight, Volkanovski was able to really win it with the same footwork and combinations. Couldn't get another takedown, and Lopes did drop him at one point, and Lopes was doing a decent job of countering with the uppercuts and then countering the leg kicks, but it was just not enough offense or cutting the cage off from Diego. And I wouldn't be shocked if in this fight, Diego tried to mix it up early and wrestle, maybe bank on his pace, and if he can get on top, being able to finish the fight. And it could also open up some opportunities on the feet. But Lopes, he was able to cut Volk off in the second, or cut Volk with the jab in the second and then drop him at one point. But after that, he never really connected flush again. And whenever Volk was on his jab and his footwork game, Lopes could not touch him. And Volkanovski, he doesn't have the same durability he used to have, obviously, but he's only been stopped with punches by Elliott, who might be the heaviest hitter in the division's history. And his other two KO losses are head kick losses. And you don't really see a ton of head kicks from Lopes in his fights. For Volk, it's about maintaining the same game plan, mixing in more takedowns if possible, sharpening it up so he doesn't get rocked a couple times he did in the first match. Diego in round 4 kind of burned his gas tank going all out for Volk. And if he can't get to him early or get takedowns, I think he has to throw caution to the wind and just try to play kill or be killed. Because if he doesn't take the risk, he'll lose anyways. So being in the best shape of his life to maintain a breakneck pace for 5 rounds, I think is probably the smartest thing that Diego could do. And unless Volkanovski looks old or just didn't prepare how he should have for this fight, I don't think he's going to gas. So if Lopes goes all out for the KO, I think it should be after he fails on wrestling or whatever adjustments he's going to come with, because if he tires himself out going for that, Alex is still going to be there. But Diego in his last fight, he did get a nice takedown off a spinning kick from Gene. He was able to do insane damage on top, and I think that's the best case scenario here. If you can get Volkanovski down early, damage him or finish him, then he could take the fight. But if Volk is smart and uses the same game plan, I think he's going to get the job done. You can't really add anything super new in your game in just 9 months, so you're going to have to rely more on Alex diminishing to a point he gets finished, and he isn't going to make mistakes Gene Silva did and gave Lopes the win. Lopes will have to skillfully take it, and I don't think he has the ability. Eventually, Volk will retire or someone will take the belt off him, but I think Diego may end up being someone who's always the bridesmaid, never the bride type of fighter, like a Uriah Faber, Joe Benavidez, and just fall short of becoming a champ. So he's a fun action fighter, but I'm going to ride with the legend one more time and go with Alexander Volkanovski to retain his title. So there you have it, guys. It's a full card breakdown and predictions video for UFC 325. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you learned something throughout this video. Do you disagree? Do you agree with my picks? Put the comments down below. Hit the like button. Would really appreciate some more interaction on this video. That would be awesome, man. Try to pump those views up. And go get the free trial at Patreon. Get access to some bets that I'm going to have available for this UFC card and other cards that are going on this week. And besides that, man, my most confident pick on this card is going to be Quillan Salkilld. And for the parlay of the week, I'll say do a parlay of Sulin Grombo and Quillan Salkilld. And I think you're going to come out on the right end of that one. So there you have it, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll be back soon breaking down another fight card. Peace out.